Good morning, everyone. My name is Dina, and I am the founder of Pain to Possibilities and the Change Pain Academy. And I'm your host of the Willow Tree Chronic Pain and Trauma Summit. Today, I am excited to introduce to you our special guest, Sarah Grace. Sarah is the founder of Living Limitlessly, is a trauma-informed hypnotherapist with over 4 decades of experience in healthcare. She is passionate about helping overwhelmed and exhausted sexual abuse survivors, men and women, to break free from their addiction to relentless busyness and work so that they can reclaim their health, heal their relationships, and find inner peace without losing all they have worked so hard to achieve. In her former life, Sarah was an emergency nurse practitioner with a postgraduate degree in health and social service management. She holds a teaching certificate in further and adult education, a diploma in advanced hypnotherapy and hypnohealing, a diploma in deep tissue massage, and is certified Reiki master. With the first 18 years of her life dominated by the sexual abuse she experienced at the hands of her stepfather, Sarah has found a way to heal and turn her traumatic experiences into a gift that she uses to help other survivors. She is the host of The Wisdom of Women, where every week she interviews an inspiring woman and invites her to share her wisdom and gift to the world with the listeners, and is currently writing her first book, a teaching memoir about the effects that incest had in shaping her relationship with her mother. So our topic for today for our listeners is hypnotherapy and hypnohealing for trauma and chronic pain. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Dina. It's wonderful to be able to share some of this with your audience. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you. I'm really excited to dive into today's conversation. So before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how it brought you to where you are now?
Sure, yeah. So a little bit of a trigger warning first. This will a little bit about what happened to me. I won't go into any gory details though, just to give you an idea of why I'm so passionate about what I do. So my story really first starts when I was about 12 years old, and I sat in a biology lesson at school. I was always a bit of a gawky kid. I didn't ever really feel like I fitted in. I always wore fashion clothes, you know, and second hand-me-down clothes. And so I was already on the back foot. I sat in this biology lesson, and the teacher, who in hindsight I feel was not exactly, well, it's not what I would do with my class full of 12-year-olds, getting us to draw pictures of the female and male genitalia, which I could see no point in then nor now. However, as we were doing this, he started to explain what sexual intercourse was and how it made babies and who it happened between. I had this awful sinking sensation and nausea of, oh my goodness, this is what my stepdad does to me. And that was the first time, to my recollection, that I'd ever really been able to name what was so inside me. I knew I was different. I knew there was something really different about me, but I couldn't have said what it was because it was kind of normal to me. It had gone on since I was 4. So I'd been very well groomed, so it was part of my life, like cleaning your teeth. But in that moment, I realized that I had to keep quiet. I could not tell anybody who I really was. I couldn't talk about me, and I had to swallow everything. And so then after that, I'm going to skip lots of it, but I tried some traditional therapy. I finally plucked up courage when I ran away at 18 to get traditional therapy, which scratched the surface probably, but some of it was quite re-traumatizing. In my very first therapy, Danielle turned out to be Daniel, which was so ridiculous. I mean, a young student's psychologist, and he didn't know what to do with me, and I wrapped him around my little finger, and he spent most of the sessions persuading me I didn't want to fall in love with him, which really, you know, was the furthest thing from my mind. Black comedy all over it. Yes. So finally, fast forward, I decided that I was going to have to heal myself, and one of the symptoms of going through severe trauma when you're a child is that you become, one way of doing it is you can become toxically hyper independent. Toxically hyper independent. I couldn't trust anybody, didn't need anybody else. I was all right, and like lived in this iron casing for many, many years after that, trying to heal myself.
Right.
Which I did to, I tried all different things, from tree hugging to carrying multiple crystals in my bra to all sorts of things. But what really made the difference was hypnotherapy. Not any old hypnotherapy. It was hypnotherapy taught by the Atkinson Ball School of Hypnotherapy. And that is a school of hypnotherapy and hypnohealing. And it isn't about learning a script and talking to your client. It's very interactive and dynamic. And it's all about getting to the root cause of the problem. And in that, I found my inner child and some of my inner children, and realized that I had banished her and blamed her. And a lot of the angst I was going through as an adult was because I'd got this part of her was a very, very sad and lonely. And another part was an angry teenager. I got all these different parts inside of me.
Yes.
And what the hypnotherapy did was help me integrate myself back into wholeness.
Amazing.
Yeah, I suffered from a lot of relevance to your audience. I suffered from a lot of migraines, a lot of back pain.
Yes.
I spent years of my life not in my body.
Yes.
So dissociated, it's a posh term for it, but when you're going through the motions of life, but you don't really feel anything, you're flatlining through it in sort of like a goldfish bowl where everything's happening around you, and you ought to be feeling something,
right,
but it's not really there. So what's the point?
Right.
I spent years like that.
Wow.
And I found hypnotherapy and then later somatic healing. So like a story of like one thing fixed me. It was a gradual chipping away of all different things, but the thing that I can put my finger on that made the most difference in the shortest amount of time was the hypnotherapy. And I only did the course really to my massage clients. I didn't do it for me.
Really?
It occurred to me that I needed it. So unaware of what it was. I looked at a watch being swung, and you zoned out, you were zonked out in a trance, and you didn't know what was going on, and then you got up and you left, and let's be changed, which is not at all.
It's so true. I find the same too. Like the further I get into learning and working with clients in chronic pain, how much it applies to your everyday life, to yourself. I'm a migraine girl as well, but even my kids who don't live with chronic pain, some live with chronic illness, some live with anxiety, depression. There's so much overlap, isn't there? And I think that's really where this conference is coming from, is there's just so much overlap between the chronic pain and the trauma. So, and your story just showcases also how so many important things. First of all, seeking the help, and then trying many different things, which is always the case in the chronic pain community. But then also realizing that you do have some power over self-advocacy when you are going out and finding what's going to work for you beyond what the doctors are saying. Perhaps go see a therapist, which is fantastic. However, there is often more, and sometimes we have to think outside the box.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's really only now that the full extent of the mind's effect on the body.
Yes.
Stephen Porges's work, through Gabor Mate, through Dev Dana, that we're knowing about polyvagal theory now, and the what actually happens to our nervous system when we have been through trauma. It's not just up here, it's in our body as well. And I think that helps it for me when I found out about all of this stuff through my own studies to help the ladies and gentlemen that I help. It was such a relief to know that I wasn't going mad and I wasn't weird and abnormal. This was a thing that was explained in a scientific book. What I was real, and I wasn't making it up. I wasn't going crazy.
Right. And it's so complicated too, isn't it? There's a lot of things that work together in the brain, especially. And absolutely. I mean, I could talk about this for 6 hours with you. I really could, because there's just so much to talk about. No, I really appreciate this. But let's talk a little bit more about, and we'll get back to that because we'll be able to weave that together. But tell us a little bit about the hypnotherapy first, just sort of what sort of we need to understand before we get into the hypnohealing part.
Absolutely. So hypnotherapy heals the emotional self.
Okay.
And many, many physical problems have an emotional element. So it can also heal physical problems. Hypnotherapy without the hypnohealing.
Okay.
I've helped a lot of people with asthma, with IBS, with chronic anxiety through just hypnotherapy. How it works is that we need to understand the hypnotherapy before the hypnohealing, because it's part of it. So the hypnotherapy, first up, we need to know there's our mind with two parts, the conscious part and the subconscious part, which I think is pretty common knowledge now. People know that we've got this huge, clever operating system in our brain we really have no control over.
Right.
So the subconscious mind is one part, the conscious mind is the other. The conscious mind is the part that we use to do our chosen tasks throughout the day.
Right.
And we can only handle in our conscious mind 3 to 7 thoughts at a time, thoughts or actions at a time. The subconscious can handle millions of thoughts and millions of actions all at the same time. So I like to explain to my clients that the conscious mind, if we think of the conscious and the subconscious, like say a laptop or a tablet, we've got the hardware, the keyboard, we've got the screen, we've got our headphones, all of that. Now, that's the hardware, which is our conscious mind. The subconscious mind is your operating system. So whether you work with a Mac or whether you work with Windows, that's your operating system. And the significance of that is if you're using the hardware, your conscious mind, to try and change something in the software, the subconscious mind, it doesn't work. You can only hit the key so many times before you realize if it's decided not to work, it's not going to, and it's going to give you a T instead of a Q, then there's something wrong with the programming inside. In there and sort that out. So for me, that's the most simple explanation of how the conscious and the subconscious work together. So to go a little bit deeper, but it's really simple. I'm not going to make this complicated. So the conscious mind is like the hardware, and it is used for our rational thinking and perception, what we do consciously. And what it does is it collects all this data that we're inputting throughout the day. It passes it all to the subconscious. So the subconscious gets it all, the computer software, and its responsibility is to look after all our bodily functions, so the beating of your heart, breathing, and it's also responsible for, once we've learned something, to put all of those individual bits together, what we call when we become skilled, and put it's in the subconscious as a clump, and we don't have to think about it. So when we learn to walk, for example, there's only so many times we have to think one foot in front of and how to do it. It becomes a subconscious program that is walking. And we have to think about walking. And driving is another one. So you can learn programs later on, because a lot of us learn to drive. And you know how hard it is in the beginning, but then it's suddenly, you could be putting your lippy on, having a sarnie, talking to the kids. At the same time, not that you should, when you're doing, not that we would do that. So you don't have to think about these automatic programs in the brain. And that frees up your conscious mind to do new things, which is marvelous, what we need. Otherwise, if we had to think about learning how to walk every morning when we woke up, we'd never get anything done. So it's a vital part. However, when the conscious mind inputs the data to the subconscious mind, it labels things as true or untrue. Now, that lets the subconscious mind know that this stuff that the conscious mind's just given me, that's a truth. Okay, that's true. That's not true. And it goes into the parts that it needs to go in and organize it. It's when this labeling gets missed off, trouble starts, and we start having problems. Because when we are experiencing a strong emotion, conscious mind is distracted. And it doesn't get the label on there before it goes into the subconscious. So fear is a strong emotion. We often have a lot of fear when we're in pain. So when we're in a lot of pain, we get information put into our subconscious mind without a label. So it doesn't know if it's true or not.
Mm.
As somebody who came, I used to work in A&E, somebody came into A&E in agony with a nail right through his boot and foot, just missing the steel toe cap right through his foot.
Yes.
That actually happened in A several times.
Yeah.
But this occasion, the man was in agony. We managed to cut his boot off and sort everything out. I think there'd be loads of blood in there. And it had gone between his toes.
Exactly. Yes.
And so as soon as he looked, he felt like a complete ninny. And there was no pain.
Right.
His subconscious told him, conscious mind, nail in foot. And it didn't have time to work out whether it was true or not. It just got filed as,
Mm-hmm.
immense pain. When you get a nail in your foot, you get pain. That's what,
Right. Yeah.
Well, does that make sense with the conscious and the subconscious mind, how that labeling is really important?
Absolutely.
Was wrong.
Yeah. Actually, that's probably the best description I've heard of the subconscious and the conscious brain.
Excellent.
Really, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I love that analogy. It's clear. It really showcases how, and especially the story about the nail on the boot, because I use that one as well. It is really showcases how important that the brain is when it comes to pain, right? Whether it be the perception, what it sees, what it perceives as danger, how it files it away. So that just adds another layer of complexity to the whole process, right? So
and the things with the subconscious, it does everything that it does for our well-being and in order to serve us.
Right.
It's doing its best to help. However, lots of these subconscious programs, as you know as well as I do, get put in place when we're children before the age of about 8.
Right. And that's the important part.
Sponge. Yeah, when we're a sponge and we haven't got any discernment, we're just like your tablet or your laptop, you've got all the programs that are downloaded and you don't know whether you're going to need them or like them. They're just there.
Yeah.
So you get all this information from your environment and from your what happens to you as you're growing up. So anything that happens to you before you were born, when you're in utero, and when you are about 8 years old, is the most important time because you're developing during time, and it really can mess up your nervous system, mess up your brain, and there's actual physical changes between the connections and the parts of the brain that happen when we've been through childhood trauma.
Right.
So the problems that happen then is you grew up like this, you've got these programs, you're not aware of them, and if you're not aware of them, you don't know that you can do anything to change it. So a lot of our behavior, we don't realize that we can change it because we're not aware of it.
That's right.
It's why mindfulness is so important in so many aspects of our life, because we can't change anything until we become aware of what change and what's going on for us.
Absolutely.
But we treat so much as automatic, don't we?
Absolutely. And I love that you're bringing in the whole observation piece, because it's really important to be able to get to a point where you can sort of observe what's happening and then be able to make a decision around, okay, so what do I do next?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the problems that really occur are when we want to behave in a different way to the way that we've been behaving. Up until then, our subconscious just runs the show and we mosey on along.
Right.
But for example, if I use the idea of maybe somebody wants to stop eating sweets, for example, stop eating sweets. However, when you were little, whenever you fell over or hurt yourself or you were poorly, your mum gave you sweets.
Yes.
And she cuddled you and she cosseted you and she kept you off school and you got a love.
Yes.
So as an adult, the secondary gain from falling is that you get a sweet treat, and that equals mum's love.
Right. How powerful, right? Yeah.
So then, do you want to get rid of that pain? Do you want to stop falling over?
Right.
Because if you stop falling over, does that mean mum doesn't love you? Which seems in the cold light of day ridiculous, but that's how it works.
Right.
Connections have already been made when you were young and impressionable.
Yes.
But it makes you worry about all the things you've done as a mother.
Right. I've had this conversation.
The brain is rewirable.
Exactly.
The brain is rewirable. So
exactly. That's the best. That's an important message. You're right. That I think two things are really important from what you've just said. The behavior. So, whether it be trauma, whether it be chronic pain, certain behaviors come as a result of the experience, what you've been through, what you feel, what you smell, what you hear, what you've lived. And those behaviors become so ingrained in our processes. And so the second important thing you said is that there is that adaptability, or that, as they say in the biz, that neuroplasticity. So it changed to get to that point. It can also change, to sort of reverse things, or at least unwind things a little bit. So that's an important
message. It can completely undo them with this method of getting into the subconscious mind, you getting into your subconscious mind and you doing the work. It wouldn't work for somebody else to do that for you, because your subconscious mind is looking after you. It's not going to take orders from me. So you have to, you have to be absolutely ready to do the work. Otherwise, you're going to have a resistance. So your pain, or the thing that your addiction to sweets, or your addiction to busyness, has got to have become so bad that you want to do something about it.
Right.
Because we all know that healing from something takes effort. We're hardwired not to do that.
Right, absolutely. No, it's so, yeah, it's true. So yeah, that's another key message. When you're ready, it will take time, it will take patience, and it will take practice, but it's absolutely doable. So as far as the hypnotherapy process itself, or at least hypnohealing, what do you think is the next thing to sort of dive into? Do we talk a little bit about
dive into hypnohealing now? Because we've got the basics of how your subconscious works, and that's important in hypnohealing. Hypnohealing is really simple. Research, we know now loads of physical problems are coming from our inner mind's belief. What we said about the nail in the foot, we know about that. So the programs that we had installed as children can sometimes give us benefits. Beats mum's love, falling over, mum's love. And many physical illnesses have this emotional sort of basis to them. Sometimes just doing hypnotherapy will heal your illness. Because the body, hypnohealing and hypnotherapy as well, work on the premise that the body wants to heal itself. Body wants to heal itself. So, for example, if you're thinking, really? If you break your leg, you have it put in a plaster to immobilize it so the ends can heal themselves. We're not doing anything. We're allowing the body's natural functions to come into play. We are just giving it a helping hand by stabilizing that bone, so that the new cells can grow, form together, merge together, and make some new bone tissue. The same with hypnohealing. So with hypnohealing, what we do is we use the powerful subconscious mind, use that to make sure that the optimal conditions for healing are going on in the body. So we use the subconscious mind, we check that there's no emotional connection to this, that it's a physical thing. If there's an emotional connection, we deal with that first. Program, help you undo it. And then if it is a physical problem, then how we do it is that we would use visualization with you. You'd use your own visualization, but we would do to sort out whatever the problem was. And it is as unique as you, because what I would use in my subconscious won't work for you. It's your subconscious knows absolutely everything about you. Years and years and years ago, before you were even born. So it knows everything, and it knows what needs to happen, and all it wants to do is serve you. So with a skilled hypnotherapist who can speak to your subconscious, that your subconscious cooperates, that's going to make the changes. Of course, to make them, because it wants to help you.
That's what it's set up to do.
It's always doing things for a useful purpose. So that's the first question. Is they serve a useful purpose? Conscious will tell you, even if it's a secondary gain. Does everybody understand what secondary gain is? And do you talk to your people about that?
No, maybe let's talk about that a little bit.
So secondary gain is when the thing that you have got gives you a benefit because you've got it. A classic example could be for somebody who's abused like me, and this used to be me, putting on a lot of weight,
Mm-hmm.
be bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and make you feel more protected.
Yes, yes.
In the case of migraines,
Mm-hmm.
I had migraines when I was very young,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was very young, and whenever I had backache, subconsciously, I didn't realize this is what was happening, but it meant mum was with me, so
Mm-hmm.
it meant she couldn't get me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now that's powerful to the subconscious. I had no idea that was what was going on.
Right.
Migraines equaled safety.
Right. Interesting. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an adult, I don't need protected anymore.
Yeah.
So I had migraines.
Right.
With the hypnotherapy, they have diminished immensely.
Right.
And lifestyle changes. And yeah, because it a lot of my life was running on adrenaline.
Right.
So
Yes.
adrenaline, all that cortisol, all those hormones of stress in my body all the time. Of course, that has a physical effect on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tense and tight all the time and never really relax. So it's not just hypnohealing on its own. It comes as a whole caboodle.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your body wants to heal itself and it wants to do what's right for you.
Right.
It needs somebody to help you go in and undo that program that is inaccessible to you until you know how to talk to your subconscious. And in hypnohealing, what we do is, if you don't believe that the body can heal itself, then if you think about the lining of your stomach every few days is new because of all the acid in there.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyeballs, the eyes, the cells in there renew every couple of days. Your liver, you've probably heard of people who have had terrible liver damage, and in 6 weeks they've recovered, and as long as they stop drinking, they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It can repair itself. But if you've got a faulty subconscious program that it keeps repeating the problem in your cells, then it's going to keep repeating the thing that's the problem.
Right.
So to go in and reprogram the subconscious to undo that faulty wiring, to clear up the secondary gain issues.
Right.
All happens ever so gently with you being in full control. And we're able to move through that. And it honestly can be quite miraculous what can happen.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. I know that often when perhaps our listeners hear the word hypnotherapy, hypnotizing, hypnohealing, whatever, they may thoughts might automatically go to, okay, well, I hear that it can be really, really pull out some deep emotions, and I'm scared to go there. So in your experience, how would you talk someone through that?
Right. So I always say people come with two worries. The main worry is that they are either going to cook like a chicken, or that they're going to be the other preconception is they're going to be in a complete stupor, dribbling in the corner, and I'm going to click my fingers, then they're going to wake up and they're going to skip out and nothing was the matter.
Right.
As at the beginning, that couldn't be further from the truth. So I explain to people that cannot be true. Firstly, because if it was true, there would be a lot of unscrupulous people doing hypnotherapy out there that would go into this incredibly deep trance, get you to get your phone out, transfer all their money to your account, wipe it all, and they would have no recollection. And that never happens. You can't, in hypnotherapy, you cannot get somebody, in spite of whatever the popular TV programs show you, and stage hypnotists who are extremely skilled at choosing the right people and then using powerful suggestion techniques to play along with what those people really want to do.
Right. Yeah, well said. It seems to be a theme. What I love about this summit is that, there's going to be some reoccurring themes. And one of them you just mentioned, one of the recurring themes of this summit is that belief or that openness. So we really need to, or we highly recommend that when you are approaching treatment, that you at least come to it with an open mind, right? Because there is a really important element of recovery or healing where that belief factor comes into play. And so, like you said, if you're really not believing in your system's abilities, or you're not really believing in perhaps the treatment itself, it might be a little more challenging. Yeah.
Yes, because that's a subconscious program.
There you go. Okay.
Does that belief serve a useful purpose? What's the secondary gain?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
there's a secondary gain in your, if that is what's going on, your subconscious has a very good reason for protecting you from the healing.
right. Right. And it just beautifully showcases how really we are set up. Like you said, right off the get-go, we are designed, our body's designed to protect us. It will do all that it can. We just need to be able to support it.
Yes.
And, the current medical model that we have has its place. But unfortunately, what it's missing is that sort of full, support system around, and they don't have time. They don't have the space for that. And that's okay.
No.
Right.
And that's part of, I know for a lot of people, the thought of hypnotherapy, like you said, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Your subconscious is there to protect you. It is no way going to take you to a place you can't handle. It will you.
Right.
So it will only go as deep as you want it to go and as you are willing to go. And the work that I do, we always ask the subconscious's permission to do the work several different ways before we start.
Right.
We're absolutely certain the subconscious is on board with us. And if the first 5 minutes of the session, the client said to me, no, when I asked the subconscious, I'd say I would just bring them out and tell them, I'm sorry, we can't do this. You're not ready, unfortunately.
Right.
You. So, there's no point, because if you're a no and it doesn't serve a useful purpose and your subconscious is like, absolutely not, there's something else that needs to be healed first. And hypnotherapy isn't the thing to do it.
Amazing. Because I know you know this so well, whether it comes to trauma, whether it comes to pain, the whole notion around safety for the brain, right? So you are already showcasing so many layers of safety for the people that are coming in to see you. I think that's really important to hear.
Yeah, that's why I've done a lot of trauma training, because in the past, what I experienced in therapy was, tell me all about it. Not what happened. No, what happened to you? Tell me all about it. All the details.
Yes. Oh boy.
I mean, when something as traumatic as what happened to me happened, you can't remember anything. It doesn't really matter what happened then. It's what's going on now.
Right.
It's as if it's like, so the person will come and to the dentist and they've got a toothache.
Yeah.
And the dentist sits them down and says, oh, how do you feel about that? That must be so depressing. How long have you had it? And, when did it start? And, oh dear, that's dreadful. And then you go and you're like, no, give me something to take the pain away. I want a result from this.
Yeah.
That's what the hypnotherapy does. It gets straight in to the root cause of why you're doing what you're doing.
I see. Okay. Good point. Okay. I love the analogy.
We don't talk about the pain. We don't talk about the toothache. We talk what is happening, what's it taking away from your life at the moment.
Right.
We have a system to sort out the toothache.
Good. Beautiful. Another key point you just mentioned, how important it is to have that context, right? Where we often don't get that opportunity to explain how it's affecting our lived experience. And so, not that you have to go into all the details, because like you said, that's going to re-traumatize or not serve you well. Yeah.
But you need to be heard about your experiences.
Right.
Instead of asking, what happened to you with what I call compassionate curiosity, which Gabor Mate calls something, compassionate inquiry.
Yes.
On that is, you ask with compassion.
Yes.
What is the sum total of your life to date that means this is how you are now? Right. Because many times have you been to the doctors, have you been to when they haven't got time or don't ask you what happened? If you've got chronic migraine, if you've got an eating disorder, well, that to me is a great big flag about abuse as a child.
Absolutely. So many layers.
So many people do. Yeah. So having the time is something that we've got that GPs don't have.
Exactly. It's a team approach.
Very, very grateful. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it certainly is. And so in order to ensure that the client always feels safe, I always offer a chat first, because I don't work with everybody who wants to work with me, because you've got to be ready. As we've said, you've got to be ready. So in that offering some free time with the potential client, then they get a chance to feel whether they want to work with me and whether I'm the person for them.
Yeah.
And during, I explained to them about the safety and about how you're not going to be out of control, because that's a really big worry for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're out of control. If you can open your eyes and look around at any point.
Right.
With hypnotherapy, you're very internally focused, externally focused.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So a bit like a meditation, but you've got lots going on in your mind, and it being clear. So you're very internally focused and relaxed.
Yeah.
And you are, because if you weren't relaxed, you couldn't do the work.
Right. Well said. Well, in all that we've talked about, I feel like we need a summit that brings, so you have brought some really key voices to the table. That's sort of, I visualize this table of voices. And, if we could do one that had the brain, the cells, the immune system, that, coming to the table, that's just what you described beautifully. Like, that is what the chronic pain, trauma, chronic illness experience is all about. It is everything, right? It's coming together. And
absolutely, we're not. And in when I was a nurse, people would come in and they'd be, the fractured femur in cubicle D, or that you're not the fractured femur in cubicle D. You're a whole being,
exactly,
a whole being who happens to have broken their leg,
right?
And you can't isolate the fact that you're worried sick about what on earth you're going to do about money now you've broken your leg,
right?
In America, how are you going to pay the bills? You can't take that away from the healing process. So absolutely, we're a whole organism that nothing functions independently. It's all completely enmeshed.
Yep, like a big old beautiful neighborhood. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. Again, I could talk for hours because I just love your message so much. But so tell us about your freebie. How can let's go into that.
So I've created a hypnomeditation to reduce anxiety, because pain is so much worse when we're anxious.
Absolutely.
And when we're stressed and anxious, we've got all that, as we said earlier, all that cortisol going through your body. You're tense, you can't think straight, your prefrontal cortex isn't working right, your amygdala, your fear centers flashing on, seeing danger everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a grotty place to be. So this hypnomeditation is something that I can share with you. You can download it. And my suggestion would be that you listen to it every night as you go to sleep. Also got a little piece about providing protection for you as well. So if you're going into a situation where you feel a little bit unsafe, then this will help put you in your protective bubble. And it's visualization, a gentle entering into a more relaxed state, visualization, and then out the other side, all set to pretty music, so you can go off to sleep with it, because your subconscious is listening all the time, as we said. But it's never off. So even if you're asleep, the words will be going in, and it has that on its own has a marked effect on helping you to be able to sort out your problems and to think more clearly about what you want to do about the object in front of you, and treatments you want, and what you want to try, what you don't want to try, because your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, can to function at full capacity again. When you're in fear, when you're in pain, you can't think straight.
No, absolutely not. Quick question for you. Can you do the treatment virtually, or do you have to be in person?
All my treatment is virtual.
Oh, really? Okay, that's great. Great. I think that's a huge help, because we have people listening in from all over the place, and we need more Sarahs. So
absolutely. Yes. I do all of my work online, and COVID made that, we all got skilled at that, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so true.
But actually, it's important for the safety part, because you don't have to leave your home.
Right.
Snuggly place. I encourage people to have the sessions in bed. Look in their blanket, just need to be able to see their face and shoulders. And I can see that and hear you clearly. You can be in a really safe place for you. So that, and again, then when you're listening to the recording at night, because every session that I do, it's different recording, but you get a recording to play every night to help calm everything down and to help you heal, that you're in your safe place. So you're kind of creating that habit of being in your safe place anxiety goes, and then you can sleep better, and then you don't feel as much pain.
Right. Yeah. The more you practice it, that's key.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. So how can our listeners get in touch with you? I will leave your information with them, but you can share with us.
So you can get in touch with me on Facebook Messenger. I've sent you the link, I think, so you can.
I can share that. Yeah.
Me there, Sarah Grace on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, Sarah Grace, and I am also on WhatsApp.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
On
Thank
my
you.
website.
Oh, yes. On your website. Yes.
On
Okay.
website, yeah, on www.livinglimitlessly.co.uk. You can get in touch with me. There's a contact form, and that's all about my program that I provide for survivors of sexual abuse, female survivors of sexual abuse. I have something different for gentlemen.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you're going away soon. You squeezed me in, and I'm really appreciative of that.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I always love talking about my passion.
Yeah, and this is a message people need to hear. Absolutely. So, from a source that knows it really well. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, darling. Thank you.
You're welcome.